Now, for the folks who don't know, Mr. Travis Walton is a very important trainer for one of our All-Stars and future Hall of Famers, Mr. Draymond Green, former Defensive Player of the Year. And I've been looking at a bunch of his recent videos. He's looking like a savage right now. So can you please take us through the process of kind of bringing him through what was last year without the Splash Bros and having to take so much of a load on by himself, and now what he's looking forward to this year?
Well, obviously last year was a different year for him with, the injuries to Steph and, Klay being out and coming into a new year without, KD, obviously. So, and a lot of new faces. But, I thought it was a year for him to kind of just reflect and look at some things that, he wanted to be better at, how he can become a better leader for the younger guys. And obviously he had never been in that situation where he was losing. If you look at his career, from high school to college and even entering the NBA, he's always been a winner.
Right.
So it was great for him to probably go through that and kind of see like, hey, I think Steve said it before, like, hey, this is the real NBA. All right. When we were winning so much, we kind of got, used to it. And like these things happen in the NBA. So I thought he did a great job adjusting and, kind of figuring things out. And he came in the summer, well, not the summer when the season was canceled, put on hold. I thought it was great for him because he had a long break, which is not normal, right?
Right.
He got to take some time off and, regroup. And he has had an amazing offseason right now. It's been great. I'm excited for him this year.
Yeah, I remember seeing a little Soul Cycle workout that he was doing. And he was like, 2020 has been great to me.
Yeah, I think that it was great because I think he got to do a lot of things that he probably normally don't do. He's been a huge Soul Cycle guy. So he was really into that. Just got to do some different type of workouts that he probably normally wouldn't do because normally in the past couple years, past 5 years, it's been getting right to it, take a month off and then get right back to it and not able to do different things. So I think this year he was able to, do a lot of different stuff, spend a lot of time with his family, which is most important.
Yes.
And when he got back with me, he was in such a, a vibrant, just a open mind. We're like, hey, let's get to work. Like, let's really lock in on some things. We got a lot of time, so we can really take it slow and focus on a lot of areas that we need to get better at, which, like I said, for him in the past 5 years, we really haven't been able to do because we have only had, 2 months off.
Right.
So 9 months, it was just amazing the time he got to have off and the time we have been able to get in the lab and get better.
So you're saying, making the finals every year is pretty tough on the body.
Oh, it's real tough on the body. Not only the body, but the mind. That's a tough drag, like for them to come prepared every game because everyone is their highlight game. Like, hey, we want to play the Warriors.
Right.
So you have to be prepared for that. And then to get prepared for the not the finals, but for the playoffs, that's another preparation. And the last 5 years, we all was like, hey, these guys are going to make it to the finals. So they were building up to that as well. So again, to have this much time off and to see the work that he has put in and the mentality that he has had to the work that we've been putting in is great. I'm excited for him.
Did you talk to Draymond at all about Wiseman? Just, whatever.
Yeah, so I loved Wiseman, right? I know his guys. I know the guys out in Memphis. So I have always heard great things about him, just from his family to his work ethic to his potential. So when the draft was going on, this was early. I was like, hey, man, this James Wiseman kid is really good, and he has a lot of potential. And if the Warriors can draft him, I would love it, because obviously we love, when Draymond can play multiple positions. But when you can have another 5 out there with Looney and, Marquise Chris, a guy like that with that athletic ability and that potential was exciting for just me to just say, man, I would love for you to get back to throwing the lobs and being able to be very versatile and taking some pressure off of you. So I was excited for the pick. I was like, man, I hope the Warriors draft him. And obviously he's looking at it in a lot of different ways, but I know he's excited about it. about drafting him and looking at the potential, because that guy has a lot of potential. He's big, he's versatile, and like I say, he comes from a good foundation from the people I know that's around him, which is important.
So one of the things we talked about earlier with this trainer, Dave Alexander, because, hey, I want the real scoop. Like, how good is this dude for real? And he was like rookie of the year, Hall of Famer, going to be better than David Robinson and Anthony Davis. Like off the top, off the rip, he said that, right? Okay. So, hey, if he does that, that'd be fantastic, obviously, for Warriors fan. But right now, the Warriors don't need him to be all world, even if he can be, just because he's brand new and there's a bunch of established players. But one thing David did kind of mention was he's excited to see Draymond's impact on him, especially with the vocal leadership, because he said Wiseman has a real dog in him. So being around Draymond all the time, can you describe to the nation just what it's like to be around someone with such a crazy fire for the game? Yeah,
well, I think, and maybe I'm a bias, but I don't think I am in this, situation. I think he's one of the most competitive individuals I've ever been around. For his talent, for where he has, the things he has accomplished, the way he can lock in when the moment gets big is unbelievable. And I seen it, when we were in college. He was a freshman when I was a senior. So I seen when we made it to the NCAA tournaments, he wasn't playing a lot for us early on. And later in the year, he started to play a little bit more, but we were loaded. So he wasn't playing a lot. And I remember we were playing, I think it was Robert Morris. And one of our guys got injured, was Goran Sutan. No, he didn't get injured. He got in foul trouble. So Draymond had to step up and, in that moment. And I think he had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. And that whole NCAA tournament, he was great, but it was like he owned the moment. And you take a guy that hadn't played much for us that whole year. We were so deep. And when the moment got big, he got bigger. And I always remembered that, because I remember it was a story when we were in college. The first couple of weeks is really tough on the freshmen. We making a run. I think his very first workout in college, he maybe threw up from lifting weights, right? Something simple. But I remember, because he was, it was tough on him. We were yelling at him. We were really hard on him. And at that time, we had two other freshmen that came in, Corey Lucius and Delvon Rowe, but they were injured. So Draymond was the only freshman that was actually able to participate and do things. So he had it hard. And I remember one open gym, we were really hard on him. And we were like, come on, man, we need you to be better. We need you to be better. And he had an unbelievable open gym when the pressure was on him, because he knew everybody was like, hey, man, you got to be better. Like, we need you to step up to the plate. You this guy. Why are you here? And he stepped up and owned that moment. So I think throughout his time, he has, stepped up and owned the moment. And I think it comes from this competitiveness that he has, where he goes, it's showtime, right? And I'm going to deliver. And if it's one thing, like I said, the thing that I think is his biggest gift is his competitiveness, and learning how and understanding how to channel it, where everybody else may be thinking, man, what the hell going on? He's able to channel it in these ways that he start to make all these incredible plays. He may be missing threes. He may make a big shot. He may make a big assist. He may get a big defensive stop, which is, really big and has, been who he is, the staple of who he is, his competitiveness.
Right. Wow. I'm feeling, do some suicide myself right now. I'm feeling inspired.
Have you, Travis, played dominoes against Draymond, and does that carry over?
So I tried to start to play. I tried to start playing dominoes a couple years ago. But the thing about Draymond, he's so competitive. So he's not allowing me to learn. Right? Like, so when I make a mistake, he's like, why you make that play? Why did you do that? I'm like, Dre, I haven't played dominoes. Like let me learn. And it's funny because anyone like that's another way off the court to connect with him, right? I think you try to find different ways to connect with your guys other than basketball. So another way to connect with him is like playing games, Uno, playing dominoes, like doing stuff that, that he loves to do to make sure that it's not just about basketball. Let's get your mind off basketball. But he gets so competitive that when I was trying to learn, I'm like, Dre, can I just figure it out? He was like, no, you're going to play. It got to be serious. So, I'm not a big dominoes guy, but I look for other people that are good so I can talk trash and say, hey, you want to jump in the game with Draymond?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. How about Uno? Do you get into those Uno?
Yeah, I play Uno a little bit, but I'm not a big gamer. I'm more the guy on the sideline talking a little trash.
Are you an instigator? Oh,
I'm an instigator, right? Like I'm gonna say a little bit here and there, and then he may throw out to jump in the game. But I'm not a big Uno guy, dominoes guy. I sit back and watch, let them do their thing, and instigate a little bit on the side.
So speaking of instigation, my boy Dr. Tom, he has a question regarding today's big man. Please, Dr. Tom, share the question.
Well, I had another question. I'm going to zig a little bit here because I wanted to ask, you talked a little bit about how this season and this off season has been so different. I wondered if there's something you're talking about different or growing or developing. Is there something that you've seen in Draymond and what he's been doing and what's been going on since the season ended that looks different, that might be new or he's growing on and expanding upon going into the season? But I'm just kind of curious because you're the person you see him the most, you know him the best. I'm wondering if there's something where you're seeing something like, oh, that's interesting. You're focusing a little more on this, or you're doing a little more of this.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is just understanding where he is at, and understanding his game to like incomplete. And what do I mean by that? I think in the past couple of years, like I said, we had limited time. So we would go for 2 months. I can remember last year where, every year I go back and I say, okay, what do we need to improve on? What should be our main focus? What should we do this more? So the last couple of years, right, we just do a lot of spot up shooting, and I'm a lot of shooting. And so this summer when I came back to him, I said, hey, we can do a lot of shooting as we should, but let's change it up because let's continue to make sure we're building your strengths and staying focused on your all around game, because obviously the world wants to see Draymond take a lot of shots and shoot threes and shoot better. Well, but he's a dominant player all over, all around. Like if you just focus on one area, well, because his IQ is so high that you can say, hey, Draymond, shoot 5 threes a game. But if the game doesn't if he doesn't suit for the game for him to shoot 5 threes that game, he's not going to take it. And he'll walk back and say, I dominated the game with scoring, 2 to 6 points. And other people will go, man, he didn't shoot enough. He didn't score enough. But the real basketball minds are saying, no, he controlled the game, right? He got the other guys involved and put them in the right position. So the things that we really took a big focus on was obviously the shooting and making sure we were very detailed on his shooting, his foot positioning, how he was dipping the ball, like all the little things that we could really break down, but not just his shooting. We were really focused on everything, improving the ball handling, making sure he was ready for contact and shooting the float right? Like making sure that his conditioning was at the highest level it can be while he's shooting. Because when you're shooting the basketball, I watched a lot of film over a lot of guys, and I think Steph is incredible at being able to shoot on the move, being able to shoot as he's tired, like he's one of the best, Klay and all these different guys. What you don't see is when Draymond running up and down, boom, 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 and then you get a spot-up shot. Well, that spot-up shot is not just a normal spot-up shot. He didn't run up the court 5-6 times. Right? So I think sometimes you have to think about that and say, okay, well, were you tired when you shot that shot? Were your legs strong enough when you shot that shot? So let's focus on some of these things that maybe in the past we haven't been able to focus on a lot because we got 2 months of off season. So we can't jump right in and just start getting you into sprints and you will build your cardio. You will get into shape into training camp.
Right.
But this year is, hey, let's come into training camp way more in shape than we have the past 5 years because we had more time. So, and then because of that, right, let's continue to focus on your ball handling because you're so versatile. You do a lot of different things. Let's focus on your passing. Let's focus on all the small things that maybe we have focused on, but couldn't give the attention to detail like we wanted to in the past because we had 2 months and we had to maximize that time. So I know I kind of went a lot around a couple of different things.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I think that was our focus. It's like, hey, and that was, something we talked about. Like we have a very great dialogue amongst each other to say, hey, do you like this? Do you not like this? Are we working the right things? What do we need to change? This is what I see. What do you see? And I think the biggest thing when we both came to a conclusion was like, hey, let's focus on everything, right? I do everything. So let's make sure we're not putting all the attention to just shooting because I'm doing everything. He's averaging what? 2.7 threes a game attempts. Right. So when you look at that, right, I'm going deep into this. So when you look at that, right, you're going 2.6, 2.7 threes a game. Well, if he goes 0 for 1, then he goes 1 for 3, right? Now we at 1 for 4. That's 25%. So everyone is saying, hey, man, he's not shooting the ball great. Well, in 2 games, he only shot average 2 threes a game. You're not even giving yourself a real chance. Well, to the outside, it goes, he's not shooting the ball great. To the inside, well, maybe he only shot the ball 2 or 3 times, but he got 8 assists. He got 10 rebounds.
I think what you're saying is interesting because I think especially the fan base has kind of a, I don't know what we want to say, but like I would say depression or something to the effect of when we were in the finals and, Dre was killing, balling, and Harrison Barnes was struggling hitting those shots. It became a thing like, oh my gosh, we have the 2 greatest shooters of all time, and this third guy's not hitting. If only this third guy was hitting, and it kind of came to this mindset for Dev Nation to that third guy has to hit threes, right? So when Kevin Durant came, we were about that no more. But with him gone, it's like, okay, that third guy, who's it going to be? Because they don't know Wiggins that well yet. The mindset is, well, Draymond's got to be that guy. And what you're saying is so fascinating because he's such a brilliant game manager that he may not have to shoot those threes. It's not about whether or not he's good at shooting them. It's about is that what the game needs? So I'm really glad you said that because I think a lot of people just look at the narrative of third guy has to shoot 50% for the Warriors to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You don't. I think if you're shooting, and I say this to him all the time, I'm like, hey, well, you're shooting 2 to 3 shots a game, so let's not pay closely to the percentages because the percentages will never be on your side when you're only taking 2 or 3 shots, 2 or 3 attempts a game, right? Like you're basically putting this type of pressure on yourself, right? That is unfair.
Right.
Because you're only taking 2 or 3 shots a game. So you're saying, I gotta make these shots, right? Like, and you talking through the course of a game, a guy who's, smacking, going after every loose ball, who's going after all the block shots, who's making the reads, who's trying to see, hey, well, he's one of the best, right, at getting the ball at the top of the key and watching Steph and Klay maneuver the offense.
Ooh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And waiting. And there's a science behind that, right? The science is how do you wait that 1 second longer to understand that Klay or Steph is about to come off that down screen in the corner and he's about to shake his man, right? Because 1 second before you shoot it, you drive it, you take them out of that position. So what does that do now? That takes you out of rhythm. Right. Shooting is rhythm. You can't shoot the ball not in rhythm. And when you do make those shots in rhythm, you can't bank on that you're going to make those shots all the time. Right? Like more than not, you have to make shots. Any great shooter, we can go down the line, whoever you want to talk about, they shoot the ball in rhythm. They take rhythm shots. Rhythm creates confidence, right? It's what you've been working on. It's what you've been practicing on. It's a dance, right? It's the rhythm of it. So when you're not taking those shots in rhythm, and it's not because he's not confident, it's because that's not his role. His role is to make sure the Clays, the Stephs, and these other guys are getting involved because he's a point forward. He's a point kicker, right? Like that was the changing of the game, in my opinion, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Where we were like, yo, the Warriors are incredible. Well, we got two of them, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green. Then you come in and your 7th or 8th man, which was Sean Livingston, was similar.
Yes.
So you got dynamic ball movers, right, that understood and had the confidence in who they were as basketball players to not let the anxiety build up to say, I got to shoot it. I got to do what the crowd is saying and telling me to do. No, I have to do what makes our team go and move. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was deep. Love it. Hey, Travis, how do you actually execute all of these things that you said? Is it like, do you have spreadsheets? Do you have like notebooks? How I would love to know like all the kind of behind the scenes to even, have a plan on how to, we see all these videos with you and Draymond, like the harness thing where you're preventing him from dribbling up court, providing that resistance. Like, what's the process of coming up with that?
Well, I'm a huge film watcher. I love the game, right? I love every piece of it, right? I love the details. Because in college I wasn't a shooter, but I was a huge film studier. Like if you go back on me and ask about the Izzos, what was Travis Walton? You go, man, this guy was the guy that at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning was watching film, that would wake up in the morning for shoot around and be like, hey, this is what they're doing. This is how we need to defend it, coach. I know we got this game plan, but let's look at this offensively and defensively, right? That was just my mind of how it worked. So obviously when I came into this position with Draymond, was like, man, like, how can I truly help you, right? Well, only way I can truly help you is that I'm studying everything around you and understanding how I can be the best version of myself for you to help you accomplish things that you want to accomplish, right? That's my job, is to make sure I'm putting you in the best possible position to be the best basketball player you can possibly be, because he has all the talent. All I'm doing is basically saying, hey, this is what I see. Let's have a dialogue, because I'm not in the NBA, right? My job is to ask you the questions and to come back to the drawing board and say, okay, he didn't like this, he liked this. Okay, well, he didn't like this, but I think we can work on this. So how do I make sure that we're able to accomplish this? Because maybe he doesn't see this right now, right? But later on down the line, he's going to go, oh, I'm glad we worked on that, because I didn't see that I was going to be doing this. Well, the only way for that to happen is to watch film, right? And to understand what's going on. Like, I obviously, for myself, I played at a very high level, but that doesn't translate to a player because I'm not him.
Right.
So I have to do as much as I possibly can, which is study film and make sure everything that I'm able to give him and talk to him about, I'm very well educated and very well versed on it, where I'm just not saying, I know this because I know it. Like, I know it because I know it. Like, I just, for me personally, I don't agree with that.
Right.
So I think you have to be, I'm a coach in my mind, right? And how I think, and coaching and training is two different things. Because when you're coaching, you're thinking of what's the best thing for obviously the player, but the organization.
Right.
When you're training, you're thinking what's best for the player, and then how can he implement what you guys are doing for the organization, right? It's two different things. So obviously myself being on both sides of of the road at one point in time, it's like, okay, this is what we need to do. And, obviously he goes out and executes everything, and he does the most. And that's why he is who he is.
Well, I have a question on that vein you're talking about as a trainer, because I showed Dr. Thomas clip of Clint Capella with his trainer, and the trainer basically said, Clint, like, why are you practicing post moves when you know good and well James Harden pick and roll? So basically you be running this back and forth, like, getting that down. And so, obviously when they play the Warriors in the playoffs and it goes that death lineup, and the Rockets have no one who can attack the smaller lineup, even though they have a giant in Clint Capella. In my mind, well, why doesn't he just post him up and give him a little shimmy and a little fadeaway hook shot when his trainer specifically said, don't even work on that because it's not going to, we need it. And so Tom and I talk all the time about these issues where we're seeing bigs who aren't dominating the way that we're used to back in the 90s and even early 2000s, where guys were like, if you were 7 feet tall with a little bit of shimmy, you were going to cook. And what you said before about Draymond kind of ushering this new era of the point forward, point center. Dr. Tom, could you kind of break down what you think about that?
And I mean, when we spent all this time talking rightfully so about offense, but the defense is it's what Draymond's known for, and he does such an amazing job. Like I said, we were talking. I was reminiscing about the 2018 Western Conference semis, and that like he's Draymond's not as tall as Anthony Davis, but man, he plays him like as tough as just about anyone in the league. And so I'm wondering, because again, you're there and you've talked to kind of in this general thing, but what things specifically do you guys work on, or do you try to focus on, or do you try to tell you, or do you talk about, or whatever, when it comes to guarding these big men who might have a height advantage or whatever, but that makes Draymond so able to keep them in check in ways that other players in the league cannot?
Well, I think, and I have always said this to people, I think the thing that makes Draymond such a great defender is that he's been a big man his whole life. So he always understood how to defend a big guy, right? So when you think of the death lineup, it was because he could defend, like you said, the Anthony Davises, the bigger guys, and hold his own. Well, because he has always done that in his career, right? From high school to college, even though he played multiple positions, he was always defending the big. So when you think about, right, so let's take it. When you think about a wing and he's trying to become a 4-man or a 5-man, well, he can probably defend the switches, but he can't take the banging. He can't take the one guy, the Tristan Thompsons, that just run at you for all offensive rebounds, right? He normally just weigh on you, right? Just pounding you. So for Draymond, right, he's been unbelievable at defending the post, because that was always his role, was, hey, you have to defend the 4 and the 5. So when he gets to the NBA, it's like, well, I just got to know how to defend the guard, because defending the post, this is easy for me. I've been doing this my whole life. And defending the guard is just making sure I give them enough space where my length and my wingspan can become a factor for me. I don't have to be the fast. I'm saying you heard this in the game, where you don't have to be the fastest guy. You have to understand angles, right? You have to understand how your wingspan to understand how far you need to be close to a guy to contest the jump shot. Which Draymond is probably, I don't have the stats in front of me, but you guys may know it, he's probably one of the top contesting players in the league. I remember a couple years ago, I think I read something that the Warriors were like one of the top teams in the NBA in contested shots, right? So they're contesting shots, and he's unbelievable at that. So I think because he has always defended bigs throughout his lifetime of playing basketball, that it was easier for him to say, yo, put me at the 5. I could defend this guy. I can defend the switch, because I understand I got a 7'3" or whatever he has wingspan. So I just got to keep this guy in front of me. And, you guys been around the game long enough. Whenever a guard sees a big on him, he goes lunch meat, right? punch me. Like, I'm going to go at this guy. Hey, Draymond, like, let's go. Right? Like, I can defend you. I'm not going to press you, but you're not going to just draw. I can contain you. Right? Like, so you take that part, and then obviously we can't take away the fact that he had Andre Iguodala, like some other unbelievable defensive guys, defensive minds that understood help side defense. And if you go back to Michigan State and you look at year in and year out, Michigan State is one of the best help side defensive teams in college basketball for the past. Well, not when Judd Heathcote was there, because when Judd Heathcote was there, they played the 2-3 zone, which at that time, Magic Johnson was one of the best controllers in the middle in the 2-3. Since Coach Izzo been there, we've been man-to-man.
Right.
So we've been one of the best help side, defend the pick and roll, all these type of things in the game of college basketball. So I just think it was in his DNA since he probably been playing. I could defend the post. I just got to learn how to defend these guards. What you figured it out.
Yeah, that seems like, we were talking about some of the, the draft players drafted. I was talking about how I think FSU, Florida State's produced a lot of these kind of, with under Leonard Hamilton, these kind of tough defenders. And, Michigan State is definitely that same thing too. When that guy, they're going to have that mentality and they're going to be tough as hell on defense.
Look at the DNA.
Yeah, because you look at that, like when people say, well, we're gonna make this guy that's been a small forward or a shooting guard, whatever, he's 6'8", we're gonna put him at the 4. Well, maybe you can switch, but what happens when they put that 4 man that's gonna start running at you? So now you gotta box him out, but you have never had to box out a wing consistently. That's a different type of banging, right? That's your back, that's your arms, right? That's every muscle. It's like swimming, right? You get to swimming and you get out the pool and you like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was not working these muscles.
Right.
I didn't know I could hurt there.
I didn't know I could hurt here. So when you get to taking a small forward shooting guard into the 4-5 position to basically simulate what the Golden State Warriors did so well, Def lineup, it's like, yo, you forgot that this guy was a small forward. He don't know how to defend this big.
Right.
So we're hurt. We're more putting ourselves in tougher positions because we're getting this guy in foul trouble. So it's not helping us. For the Warriors, they wasn't getting in foul trouble. They were actually like, hey, man, we're changing the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Could you break down a little bit of the synergy that we see with Steph-n-Dray in the pick and roll? Because I remember in 2019 when KD went down and we were in Houston and it was like down on the wire and Steph-n-Dray just spammed the pick and roll over and over and over again until Houston broke, basically. What do you think it is about that allows them to be so deadly even after all these years?
Well, I think the first thing is the respect, right? They both have the utmost respect for each other and what they bring to the table. So you're never going to see Steph questioning what Draymond doing. You're never going to see Draymond questioning what Steph is doing. Mm-hmm. So that's the first ingredient, right? Like, I know what you bring to the table and what you're capable of doing. Right. So I think from that comes all the other options of their genius, right? Of understanding how the defense is playing, how my man is playing. Obviously with the Steph, right? You have to defend him. You can't defend him one way. You have to defend him so many ways that it goes, whoa, what am I doing? Then when you get Draymond, that's IQ is so elite and he's understanding how to manipulate the defense. Well, now it becomes even tougher because you got him setting the screen, you got Steph setting the screen, right? You just got these interchangeable pieces where you go, wow, it's unguardable. It's either we're missing a shot, this read didn't work, but we got exactly what we wanted. Mm-hmm. It's just we missed the shot. But really the defense didn't really have much to do with it because we were really manipulating the defense, and we got the shot that we wanted. But I think the first part to that, and to any championship team, the first ingredient is respect. You have to respect what that next guy brings to the table, because hey, everyone is human, right? They all hear the media and hearing what this person says, that person says, but inside that locker room, those guys have the utmost respect for each other and what they bring to the table, which makes them so good.
You ever thought about having a speaking series where you just break down Warriors basketball like for 10 minutes with like the sound of like falling rain behind it? Dude, I think you make millions off that.
It's not just the Warriors. I can break down any guy I work with or other guys as well. Like I just love the game of basketball, and I love the different parts of it, and I love to watch basketball and see the different things that I can challenge myself on being better at.
When did you start to work with Draymond?
So me and Draymond started working together his second year in the NBA. So after his first year, going into his second year in the NBA, we started to work together.
Well, that's where the question about Wiggins is going to be very interesting, because a lot of the Nation members are very skeptical about this guy from his resume. I'm a huge fan. Dr. Thomas is a huge fan as well. We think he's going to ball out. But with Klay's absence there, that magnifying glass on his back is going to expand.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Andrew Wiggins. I think that he is a very, very good player. And I think that his role with the Warriors will be very good. If you take the games that he had to play against the LeBrons, these high-end guys, he steps up. He plays.
He gets 40.
Like, and the guy has improved every year, right? If you just look at his stats, he has gotten better. It's just, maybe you wanted so much out of him that it's like, I'm giving you what I can give you, but Karl Anthony Towns is becoming an unbelievable player as well. So he had other pieces behind him, but I'm kind of like you guys. I think Andrew Wiggins is a good player, right? Like, I think he's gonna fit great with the Warriors. So. I really appreciate y'all. Come on, man. This was awesome. I appreciate
thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
likewise.
So much.
Yeah. That was incredible.